Hey guys, what's up? Inksmith back again. Welcome to all my new subscribers. Thank you so much. Let's jump into today's subject, and that is the big update on EDP445. Now, this is something I've been following for a while because one of the things that always kind of upset me over the years, and I've been doing YouTube for a while, you probably don't know this, but I have a separate channel from 2006 called Unrested, and I've seen this scenario play out again and again, and people use YouTube as a platform for being a predator, and it's disgusting. I want to see it stop, and I think the more attention we call to this, the more we can get it to stop. EDP445 is a story probably most of you know about, as he's been made into what I call the cupcake meme. Now, of course, we can't go into too much detail as to what happened because YouTube will end up striking any video, even though it goes out of its way to try and protect those using the platform. But as you probably know, the story goes that EDP attempted to meet a 13-year-old girl and used his excuse of saying that she offered him a cupcake. Of course, the two guys who made the whole plan to set up this meeting and get him arrested, well, it just didn't quite work out that way. Their channel, I believe, was deleted as well. So was EDP's. And I think what kept people extremely angry about the situation was that, number one, he never offered any apology. He never ever admitted any guilt. And this seems to be a sort of narcissistic aspect of some YouTubers that I just went over with my last video. On top of that, though, he kept trying to come back, and I think this is what kept media and people using social platforms vigilant. He tried to make his own website, he tried to come back on Facebook, he tried to use every streaming service possible, and he even tried to use these as a platform because he knew his name had blown up, and he knew he could get more publication and more notoriety. And it's almost like because something negative was outed, he used that to try and drive a career even further rather than humble himself, take some time away from the internet, check himself into some sort of mental rehab because God knows he needs it, and instead tries to use it to raise his platform rather than shut it down. Now, of course, things didn't quite play out that way for him. His career did not take off. In fact, he ended up homeless. He was evicted from his own apartment. He tried living with his father, and apparently people called his father's house so much that the apartment manager had to have him evicted from his father's apartment. On top of it, all his YouTube relationships were burned out. Anybody he tried to contact said they just refused to talk to him at all. He had to sell a lot of his own personal items, even another car that he had earned from doing YouTube. Apparently, he had gotten quite a bit of money and had burned through quite a bit of it as well, I guess thinking the YouTube thing would go on forever and ever, which just a little bit of advice to anybody out there who decides to do YouTube: it will never last forever. Your time in the limelight will never last forever on YouTube. Topics will change, society will change, generations will change, whatever your interests are will change, and YouTube should never be seen as a long-term steady stream of income. He got fired from multiple jobs, and even when he tried to apply to new jobs, apparently people would go out of their way to find out what he had applied to, call the jobs, and spam them until he would finally get kicked out of those. He went so far as being kicked out of so many apartments that he couldn't apply to new ones, had to start living in hotels, and this gets pretty extreme, but I'm going to show exactly why this is justified, what people did. He got kicked out of these hotels because people were starting to flyer around the hotels to look out for him. They would even go to the hotels that he was registered at and make sure to tell the hotel manager that, you know, this guy's got a background, go check it out here. Everything he has is put out on the internet. And he's even tried to change his name at this point. Now, the newest update, the big update, is supposedly a person who he was still friends with on YouTube, known as Felipe, has made a video saying that he is now currently in jail at the Henderson County Jail, But you see, the thing is, his only proof of this is 4 unknown calls that supposedly came from the Henderson County Jail, in which the text-to-speech voice that talks usually says, you have a collect call from prisoner, and then someone who patches you through announced the name as Bryant Moreland, which is apparently EDP's real name. And yes, I don't mind putting it out there. If there's ever someone who needed to be exposed, it's this guy. And the other thing you should realize is that this guy, Felipe, he really only gets views on his channels when he announces this, so he may just be using it for that. Not that I blame anybody for making a video simply to get views, but if it's not true, and if there's not enough proof, then it is kind of, I don't know, scummy to try and say you know certain information that you don't, especially when it contains actual legal files. Once again, we don't have any other proof other than that, so we really don't know if he is in jail. And the scariest thing is that means he would still be out there. Now, I know some people have actually written that this is harassment. I can't believe people are pursuing him this much. What people have done is just out of line. Well, see, here's the thing. Number one, there was never any admission of guilt from EDP. There was no apology, and there was no redemption. There was no rehab. There was nothing like that. And on top of it, there was no police work that got him in jail. Now, I'm not saying the police didn't do anything at all. I think they just didn't have the way to put him in jail that legally could be possible. So when all these different aspects fail, it pretty much gets taken up by social media and society at will. And, you know, if someone's not going to be policed and registered as a sex offender, then the internet will do it for them to try and protect the innocent. So what I'd like to do from this point on is just kind of go into what I'd like to advise my younger viewers, as I know YouTube, TikTok, all the social media out there has a lot of younger viewers. Not everyone's my age making videos on here and in the same situation as me where they've lived through quite a bit in life. And I'd like to give my own views as to what could protect you. I've been doing YouTube since 2006. I've seen this scenario play out again and again. I've seen how people have been hunted, predicated on, and I just want to put my own 2 cents into helping to protect the community. Number one, younger viewers, 18 or younger, whatever your below the age of adulthood is in your country, please be careful. Whenever you talk to a YouTuber, if you somehow get in touch with him via DMs on Twitter or whatever it is, try to keep your talks hobby and topic based as to what the channel is. If that's what your interest started in, as far as why you're watching that person, try to keep it to that. Another thing to do is realize that a lot of these predators look for emotional trauma, hard times, relationship trouble, even small things like problems in your family, or big things like a tragic death in your family. This is when your mental and spiritual and emotional side of you are weakened because you're stressed out, you're troubled, your mind is not fully focused. You've got a lot of things attacking you from all different sides mentally. And this is when people find a way to get in. You see this with cults. You see this with abusive religions. You see this with proselytizers. And this happens with predators too. They look for a weak point to try and reel you in. Realize you're most vulnerable when your mind is not working at its fullest capacity and focus. And that's when you're dealing with major trauma in your life. Be extra alert and careful during those times. If at any point you feel uncomfortable, trust your gut feeling. This is advice I wish I had gotten quite a few more times when I was younger. There's a certain thing called your intuition. We call it gut feeling. If you're having a talk or you're getting a vibe during a talk that just makes you feel kind of icky, end it. Get out of it. Tell an adult, tell somebody who's of authority, let somebody know how you feel. Trust me, people would rather be alerted right away and find out nothing big was going on than find out later. For my older viewers, YouTube has evolved. It's evolved into a career or a part-time job. Treat it the same way you would as a profession. Don't use YouTube like Tinder. Don't assume a level of interest in you beyond your topics and your subjects. Don't be rude, but don't entertain any fantasy or obsession from any fan. You do not know of their real age, personality, who they are, their identity, anything. We are anonymous on the internet. Even if they tell you they're an adult, they may not be. Don't even risk it. Don't put yourself in a situation. Your fans, your viewers, they're more like clientele. They're more like customers. We are adults at a job, so act like it when it comes to clientele interaction. If you absolutely must meet your viewers, you want to have a meetup, you want to get together, you need to do it with multiple viewers, and it needs to be at a major event. For example, my own channel that is based on Japan called Unrested always goes to Hanami Matsuri. That's pretty much cherry blossom parties in Japan. There is probably thousands of people at these, and they happen in a big open space at a nearby castle that is a memoriam to an old castle that was destroyed during World War II. We go there, we talk, we have conversations, and we keep it on topic with things about Japan. If you want anything else, that would be a suggestion. It would be conventions, major events. Never meet alone, both for my younger viewers and my older viewers. Do not meet alone. Never open yourself up to a situation that could leave you or the other person vulnerable. For example, I've heard people before say like, oh yeah, I'm going to go meet them, but they live at their parents' house and their parents will be there. That's too vulnerable. That's too scary for both people, whether you're an older creator, an older viewer, or vice versa, younger a creator or younger a viewer. Don't do it. Everything goes for being vulnerable whenever it is not a major event. Last but not least, keep your interactions via text message or calls or video calls. Imagine you are always being seen. You should act like how you would act in public. You should talk like how you would talk in front of a group of people. Don't get into anything weird. Both sides of you. Young viewers, young creators, old viewers, old creators. Talk in DMs and messages professionally, politely, and respectfully. And always talk like everything you're ever going to say online will be seen by somebody, because trust me, it always can be. I hope all those hints and helps and tips and stuff help quite a bit to keep a lot more people out there safe. I'm no expert on any sort of thing like this. I've just been doing YouTube for a while, and that's my advice from doing it since 2006. I hope all of you stay safe out there. I hope all of you had a great Christmas or whatever holiday you celebrate, and a wonderful New Year as well. I've been the Inksmith, and it's wonderful to have all these new viewers. I'm going to be doing an AMA at 1,000 subs, so if you have any questions you'd like to ask me, put them in the comments below. Until next time, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.